Hi everybody, so we are in week 4 and we are talking about, actually I'm going to resubmit that this is the video you're going to click on to watch this. Let's go into grammar. Now I've had a couple people that tried the subject-verb agreement quiz before I reviewed the material, so it's probably a little premature. So when we've got grammar, I will assign it on Monday. And there'll be an activity you need to do to practice. I'll review the activity on Wednesday, and that'll prepare you for success on the quiz on Thursday. So hold off on taking the quiz until after I've gone over the assignment, for lack of a better word, or the activity with you. Okay? So we're looking at subject-verb agreement. I know we took a look at this on Monday, but I just want to, this is on page 10. This is the very last page, and there is a summary here. So really, if your sentence fits one of these scenarios, you need to just go to the, just find the appropriate scenario and apply the rule. So for example, indefinite pronouns always take singular verbs. This is the one that I need to change, because indefinite pronouns don't always take singular verbs. There are such things as plural indefinite pronouns. Those are things like few or many. Okay, those are plural, and they take a plural verb. So, and I believe I gave you a list of, I think there's only 3 or 4 last time we met. But this is not true. Okay, collective nouns usually take singular verbs. Everything else is correct. So, they will fit one of these 8 scenarios and apply the appropriate rule. Okay, so let's go back up now. A lot of times the hardest part of subject-verb agreement is finding the subject and finding the verb. That's because writers, authors, and you are writers and authors, you will add a lot of phrases and dependent clauses and adverbs and adjectives to add detail to your sentence, and that's a good thing, but it makes it hard to sift through the woods to find that individual tree, that subject. So the first thing that we can do to make our lives a lot easier is to get rid of the prepositional phrases, because those are the most obvious, and those are phrases that start with a preposition and they have an object. So they start with a preposition, and the last word will be an object, which has to be a noun or a pronoun. Okay? So so it will be a phrase. You will never have, as that point number 1 says on the last page, page number 10, you will never have a subject or a verb in a prepositional phrase. So you can get rid of those and not worry about eliminating anything essential. So I think we've already gone through number 5, but let's look at number 6. People in the middle of a crisis may become startled when a phone rings. In the middle of a crisis are 2 prepositional phrases. So the subject and verb of this first clause is people, that's a subject, may become is your verb. And that's a linking verb, because it's linking it. We're showing a state of being of, or we're describing people. Startled is your adjective. Okay? Now, we are looking, however, for the verb in this dependent clause. And I know it's a clause because it's got a subject, phone, and a verb. And it starts with a dependent marker, a when. Okay? And I know when I see this followed by a clause that this is going to be a dependent clause. So, your subject is the phone. Phone is singular, so you need rings, the singular verb. 7, I think we talked about this, but I'll go over it very quickly. Sometimes you'll have a clause that is acting, as the subject, or direct object, or object of a preposition. And can they do that? Yes, they can. Sometimes, for example, this is what we call a gerund phrase. A gerund is a verb that ends in an ing, but it acts like a noun. So this is acting like a noun phrase. Driving 100 miles. Okay? That is the subject of the sentence. This gerund phrase is the subject. Now, for a picnic is a prepositional phrase, so get rid of it. Driving 100 miles, singular subject, takes a singular verb. Seems silly. Constantly blaming others appears to be John's way of avoiding responsibility. To be is an infinitive verb. When you have a to in front of a verb, this is called an infinitive verb. It is never your main verb. Okay? Of avoiding responsibility is a prepositional phrase. Let me back up a little bit. But Mrs. Purdy, you said to is a preposition. It is. It is when it's followed by an object. So when it's followed by a noun or pronoun. When it's followed by a verb, it's an infinitive verb. Okay? But that's never going to be your verb, so get rid of it. So, constantly, whenever you see an ly word, that's going to be probably, most likely, an adverb. Get rid of it. That's not a subject or verb. So, blaming is your, well, actually, let's just make this a phrase. Blaming others. That's one of those gerunds, because blaming others is the subject. We think blaming is a verb, but it's not. In this case, it's a gerund, and it's acting like a noun. Okay? Blaming is the subject. Now remember, a gerund phrase is a singular noun. Blaming others appears to be John's way. Okay? If the television is on, this is a dependent clause. Subject is television. Linking verb is. Now you'll see that this has a a dependent clause, comma, independent clause sentence pattern. So it's DC, comma, IC. Okay? Anna is the subject of this main clause, or the independent clause. Anna's singular. She takes a singular verb. Complains. Okay, but you have to get rid of all this noise on either side of it. Okay, to effectively focus on your subject-verb agreement. After a bad day at work. After a bad day, prepositional phrase. At work, prepositional phrase. You is treated as a plural. As a plural pronoun. You need a quiet place to relax. Okay? So, let's review this. Malcolm always bring a present. Let's look at just this clause. When he visits his mother is a dependent clause, but we're going to talk about this first. Always is an adverb. It tells when he brings. Always. Okay? So that's not your subject. Malcolm is your subject. And Malcolm is singular, so you have to have a singular verb, which is brings, not bring. When he visits his mother, he's singular, visits is singular, so that's fine. All right, so we just had to change this verb. He does not have much money, but managed to find an appropriate gift every time. To find is an infinitive verb. Okay, you've got to in front of a verb. That is never going to be your main verb. Let's see what the main verb is. He, that's the subject, does have, not is always an adverb because it always changes the meaning of a verb. To illustrate, do not have is always different from do have, so it's always going to change the meaning of the verb, and that's what adverbs do. They change the meaning of verbs. So not is not part of the verb phrase. Does have, okay, what is he, who or what does he have? Money, that's your direct object. Look at this, but. But is one of those coordinating conjunctions called fanboys, and you've got a list of those on the back of that sentence pattern sheet. And you can remember the fanboys because it stands for, it's an acronym that stands for and, nor, but, or, yet. So those are conjunctions. They join things. So when you see a conjunction, you're going to have two of something. In this case, we're going to have two verbs because he does have and he manage. Well, he does have as a singular subject. He's is a singular verb. He's a singular subject. So you need this to match. So this has to be singular. Manages. To find an appropriate gift every time. Okay? Sometimes, adverb telling when he arrives with a bunch of flowers or some fresh fruit from a nearby stand. He is your subject, arrives is the verb, both are singular. You're fine. These are all prepositional phrases. With a bunch of flowers from a nearby fruit stand. All prepositional phrases. His mother loved his thoughtfulness. Subject is mother. Mother is singular, so love has to be loves, because loves is singular. Here's the second clause, and this pattern, by the way, is IC, semicolon, IC. You've got this independent clause, semicolon, this independent clause. It is the subject, okay, referring to thoughtfulness. So thoughtfulness is its antecedent. Pronouns always substitute for something, okay? In this case, it's thoughtfulness. But it is a singular verb. So it has to have a singular, is a singular pronoun. It has to have a singular verb with it. It makes. Okay? Occasionally, that's an ly word. It's an adverb. Get rid of it. She scolds him for spending money on her. That's fine. Singular subject, singular verb. In addition, prepositional phrase, when he arrives with a small box of chocolates, this is a dependent clause, because I see a subject and a verb, and I know this is a dependent marker on the, or a we call a subordinating conjunction. All right, so I know when I see this that the clause following it will be dependent. This is fine. Singular subject, singular verb. Here's the second clause. She say. Well, she's a singular subject, but say is a plural verb. This must be changed to says. Here's the final. You are tempting me to get fat. This is fine. You is treated as plural. That's the subject of this clause. Are tempting is plural verb. However, he know his mother too well to believe her complaints. However, that's what we call a conjunctive adverb. It's one of those transition words on your sentence pattern list. He's the subject, singular. Know is plural, so we have to change that to knows. His mother too well to believe her complaints. She actually looks forward to his small surprises. Besides, I think that's probably an adverb. He too, that's an adverb. Okay, it means in addition. He, singular subject, like is your verb, but that's a plural verb. It needs to be he likes to eat a little of the fruit or chocolate. Okay? So you've just got to kind of eliminate the clutter and make sure your verbs, if you have a singular subject, you have a singular verb. If you have a plural subject, you have a plural verb. Let's take a look at these. This is an activity related to eliminating prepositional phrases. So I'll go through and give you the prepositional phrases. And I think we talked when you've got an element that is set apart from the rest of the sentence and it's surrounded by commas, that means this is non-essential. You can take it out and it doesn't change the meaning of the sentence. In this case, it can be a dependent clause that's in here. It can be a non-essential dependent clause. And that will be usually one that starts with the relative pronoun, right? And we saw those on, you have a list of those on the sentence pattern sheets as well. But in this case, it's two prepositional phrases. In addition to lack of trust, actually there's three prepositional phrases, right? So, your subject is jealousy. Your verb is threatens. Of marriage is also a prepositional phrase. So, plus her mother-in-law. That is an plus. I'm trying to think if that's a prepositional phrase. I think it's probably just an adverb phrase describing who was with Christina. It's probably an adverb phrase, but it's non-essential. It's offset with commas, so it's not going to be your main subject or verb. Subject is Christina. Your verb is. Over the summer is a prepositional phrase. Number 3, without much thought, prepositional phrase. On the server's appearance, prepositional phrase. So you've got your essential sentence is a loud customer made a cruel comment. Customer is your subject, made your verb. In the early morning, introductory prepositional phrase. With a Great Dane, prepositional phrase. Through the park, prepositional phrase. So your essential sentence is a tall man jogs. Well, that's easy. Man's your subject, jogs is your verb. The truth behind the actors' brawl at the nightclub is a simple story of too much alcohol. Behind the actors' brawl, prepositional phrase. At the nightclub, prepositional phrase. Of too much alcohol, prepositional phrase. So your essential sentence is the truth is a simple story. Truth is the subject, is a verb, because it's a linking verb. We're describing the truth. As well as low-fat cheese. This is probably an adjective or adverb phrase. It's non-essential. Of calcium in any diet, two prepositional phrases. So yogurt is a good source. Yogurt subject, is a verb, because this is describing yogurt. My best friend from high school arrived a day early for the reunion, prepositional phrase. From high school, prepositional phrase. So your subject is my best friend arrived a day early. Friend is the subject, arrived is your verb. From children in distress is a proper noun. I know it includes a prepositional phrase, but it is a proper noun, so you can't break out the prepositional phrase. In this case, it's acting as the object of a preposition. So from children in distress is a prepositional phrase, which happens to have a prepositional phrase within it. To my psychology class, prepositional phrase. On Tuesday, prepositional phrase. So your speaker is your subject, is coming is your verb. Okay? 2 of the men in the car are friends of Alicia's cousin. Of the men in the car, prepositional phrase. So your subject is 2. That's plural, and are is a plural linking verb. Okay? Because you're describing the 2. They are friends. They're not doing something, so that's a linking verb. Including the yard and driveway. In this case, this is actually what we call a participial phrase, or a participle phrase. I know it's a verb that ends in ing, Mrs. Purdy, but I thought you said that was a gerund. Well, gerunds act like nouns. This is acting like an adjective because it's describing the house. This is a participle phrase. Participle phrases can act like adjectives. Okay? So, it's non-essential. In good condition, prepositional phrase. So, the old house is. That's your sentence, main part of your sentence. House is your subject, is your verb. Alright? Okay, so we've already done these. You'll want to have eliminated with clean rooms, a small pool, and free breakfast. With clean rooms, the clean rooms, a small pool, and free breakfast are all objects of that preposition. Okay? Because what does the motel have? Well, clean rooms, small pool, and a free breakfast. This is a prepositional phrase with compound objects. See the and? It's a conjunction. It means you'll have compound something. In this case, we have compound objects of this preposition. At the exit to Masonville, prepositions. Subject is motel. This is singular. Your verb should be is. Mr. Kelly's patience, in addition to his years of experience, explains his popularity with students. In addition to his years of experience with students. All prepositional phrases. What is the subject? His patience. Okay? And patience is singular, so the verb is explains. All right? Gossiping about friends is a prepositional phrase. Of a deficiency, prepositional phrase. In loyalty, prepositional phrase. Gossiping is your subject. This is a gerund. It's acting like a noun. Gossiping is gerund phrases, or gerunds are singular. Gossiping is. Okay? One of the most handsome men in town is or are my best friend Tyler. Of the most handsome men, prepositional phrase. In town, prepositional phrase. So one is your subject, the pronoun one, and that's called an indefinite pronoun. And those are singular. So one is my best friend Tyler. Okay? Under suspicion of murder. Under suspicion of murder. Prepositional phrases. The young man, together with his fiancée. This is probably an adverb phrase describing who was. I'll have to look at it more closely, but it's not the subject or the verb because it's non-essential. It's offset by commas. This is introductory phrase. Okay? Your subject is man. Man is singular, so it's was. Okay? Of a police search is a prepositional phrase too. The house with the blue shutters, prepositional phrase. To a family from Missouri, all prepositional phrases. So, the house has been sold. House is singular. Has is singular verb. At summer tournaments is a prepositional phrase. In dangerously hot weather, prepositional phrase. So your subject is players compete. Okay? Players is plural. Compete is your plural verb. Okay? Compound subjects. Now I want you to get rid of or and nor. Get rid of those. And circle the word and. I'm going to try to make this very clear cut. Get rid of those two. First of all, you never see nor by itself. It's usually in combination with neither, and we're going to talk about that later. And we're going to talk about or later. So get rid of those. They shouldn't really be in here. Circle and. When you have an and, that is a coordinating conjunction. One of those fanboys. You know you're going to have two of something because conjunctions join things. When you have two of something, it's going to be plural, right? So Jermaine and Lisa, you have two subjects. It needs a plural verb. The house and the garden, you've got two subjects. It's going to need a plural verb. Bakery and pharmacy, it's going to need a plural verb. Okay, that's when you have and by itself. Now, we talked about sometimes you've got when you have there are, there is, there were, there will be, and here, there and here. Now these are not subjects. They are, I'm trying to think what there are. They might be adverbs of some sort. When in doubt, call it an adverb. But they are displacing the subject. They're displacing the subject and booting it to a place after the verb. Well, this is a lazy sentence construction. It's weak sentence construction. If I see sentences started with this or this, I will say, go ahead and take the subjects out and put it in front of the verb. So, but just know that when you have there or here, followed by a verb, it will have displaced the subjects. So just move the subjects back. A bakery and a pharmacy are down the street. That's much more active than there are a bakery and a pharmacy. Okay, just know that the subjects are behind the verb in this case. Same with here. You've got a picture and a copy. Those are your subjects. So, and those are compound. Of your father and of his birth certificate are not, or those are prepositional phrases, so they're not your subjects in this case. Okay? Now, you've got or, when the subjects are joined by or, either or, neither nor, not only but also. They are. You have to look at the verb form. These are not automatically considered compound. You won't necessarily consider these plural subjects. These are conjunctions. This is called correlative conjunction, and they come in pairs: either or, neither nor, not only but also. There may be one more, but these are the most common. All right. So you'll know you've got a compound subject or a compound verb or a compound something if you've got these in a sentence, but you cannot assume that it is plural. You have to look at what's closest to the sentence. So here's an example. Not only the restaurant manager, but also. So you've got correlative conjunctions, which co means together or with. Correlative conjunctions. So you're going to have a compound something. In this case, it's a subject. You've got the manager and the waiters. Well, if you have these correlative conjunctions, you have to look at the subject that's closest to the verb. Waiters is plural, so this takes a plural verb. Now switch it to prove the point. Not only but also, but it's waiters and manager. Manager's closest to the verb, so it takes a singular. Okay? Here's another example. Either or. Either or, those are correlative conjunctions, so you're going to have a compound something. Once again, it's a subject. Parents or boy. Boy is singular. The sentence takes a singular verb. Flip it around though. Now parents is closer. Parents is plural, so you take a plural verb. Here's the last example of correlative conjunctions. Neither nor. It means you've got two subjects. Landlord is singular. It's closest to the verb. Singular verb. In this case, we flipped it. Tenants is a plural, and so it's closest to the verb, and so we take the plural verb. All right, let's make sense of this. You've got either or, right? Either or, so you know you're going to have a compound something. In this case, it's subjects. Let's get rid of some prepositional phrases. Get rid of in the upstairs apartment, across the street, in the street. Those are all prepositional phrases. So our essential sentence is either the woman or the men is or are leaving garbage. So you've got woman is the subject and men is the subject. Well, men is plural, so this takes a plural verb. Okay? Either the woman in the upstairs apartment or the men across the street are leaving garbage in the street. Do you see that? Men is plural. Have to take a plural verb. Not only but also, those are correlative conjunctions. So you've got two subjects. Chicken, vegetables. Okay? Chicken and vegetables. This is plural, so you take the plural verb, taste. Vegetables taste. Okay? Neither nor. All right, you've got compound subjects. In this case, let's get rid of prepositional phrases. On the sofa, on the chair, of the furniture. So your sentence is neither the slipcovers nor the huge pillow hide or hides the decrepit condition. Slipcovers is your subject. Pillow is your subject. Pillow is singular. You need hides. You need the singular verb. Neither the slipcovers on the sofa nor the huge pillow on the chair hides the decrepit condition of the furniture. Oh, here's a here are, here is, are, there was, were. All right. Remember, when you've got these words, they displace the subject. So the subject here is baby's formula and, we know we have two of them because we have a conjunction, right? And blanket. Okay. So these are both, these are compound because you've got and, they're joined together. It means two of them. This is plural, so we have to have a plural verb. So here are the baby's formula and his blanket. Same thing with was. Well, what's my subject? Let's get rid of prepositional phrases. With the oil, in my car, with a strange grinding sound in the engine. You've got compound prepositional phrases here. That's what that and is about. Okay? So there was a problem, or were a problem. That's your essential sentence. So your subject, remember, this displaces the subject back here. Your problem is your subject. That singular takes a singular verb. There was a problem. All right? After dinner, either or. So we're back to the verb taking the plural or singular form depending upon the subject closest to it. But let's get rid of prepositional phrases. After dinner. While I do dishes is a dependent clause. Okay? I do, subject verb, and this is a dependent marker. So, but we're not interested in this. We're only interested in this clause. So your subject is mother, brother. Brother is singular, so you take the singular verb, which is clears. After dinner, either my mother or my brother clears the table while I do the dishes. Okay? Anger and bitterness. This is two subjects joined by and, so we treat this as plural. Never solve. Anger and bitterness never solve. Never is an adverb. Okay? So plural subject, plural verb. This is neither nor. We're back to those correlative conjunctions. Okay? So tea, chicken soup. Those are both your subjects. Chicken soup is singular, so it's has. Neither hot tea nor chicken soup has much effect when I get a bad cold. This is singular form. In the middle of the night, there comes a time when my child wakes up crying. In the middle, prepositional phrase. Of the night, prepositional phrase. When my child wakes up crying is a dependent clause. Child is the subject, wakes is the verb. But we're not worried about this. We're worried about the verb here. Now we've got a combo here. Remember when a sentence or a clause starts with there, it displaces the the subject. Subject is time. Okay? Move that back here where it belongs. Time comes. Time is singular, comes is singular. So this would read, in the middle of the night, there comes a time when my child wakes up crying. Okay? When I have a stressful day, that's a dependent clause. Okay? We're not worried about this dependent clause. We're looking at this independent clause. We've got either or. Okay, this means we need to take take our clue from the subject that's closest to the verb. Okay, so let's get rid of some prepositional phrases here. To my girlfriend at the gym is a prepositional phrase. So here's my essential sentence. Either a call or an hour. Helper helps me relax. Well, the closest subject is our. Girlfriend and hour. The closest one is hour, and it's singular, so it's helps. So this reads, when I have a stressful day, either a call to my girlfriend or an hour at the gym helps me relax. Okay? Now we talked about indefinite pronouns. These are all singular indefinite pronouns in this box. And I gave you a list of plural indefinite pronouns, and those include such words as few, many. Can't think of any off the top of my head. Few and many. Those are the top two. All right? Those are plural, and they take a plural verb. Okay? So everyone is singular, is talking. That's your verb. This is a prepositional phrase. Says that. Prepositional phrase. So this could be a problem if you made the mistake that boys is the subject. Boys are talented, but it's not. That's a prepositional phrase. So you're left with the pronoun each, and that's singular, and it goes with a singular verb. One of the biggest concerns is crimes. Once again, you've got a prepositional phrase. If you made the mistake that concerns is the verb, is the subject, you would choose a plural verb, and that's not correct. One is your singular subject, singular verb. Of the cats, prepositional phrase. Neither is mine. Singular, singular. Okay? So, remember, this is one of those 10 criteria from the last page. This is a question or an interrogative. Notice you've got a question mark. That is another situation where the subject has been bumped to behind the verb. In this case, anybody is your subject, so move that over here. Anybody is singular, so it goes with the verb was. All right, anybody was. So if you put it back into question order, it's was anybody from school at the club on Friday night? From school at the club on Friday night, all prepositional phrases. All right, for my budget, prepositional phrase. Of the cell phones, prepositional phrase. Okay, cell phones is not the subject. Either is the subject, the indefinite pronoun either, and this is singular, so it's costs. is your verb. So it sounds funny. People gave me funny looks at my class this morning, but it's grammatically correct. Either of the cell phones costs too much for my budget. Okay? Subject is not cell phones. Here's, once again, with a question or interrogative, somebody has bumped or displaced the subject from where it belongs. So someone is, move it back to where it belongs. Someone is singular, so you choose is as your verb, your singular verb. Is someone taking photographs during the ceremony? Each of Mrs. Todd's painted bowls have or has or have a personal value. Of Mrs. Todd's painted bowls is a prepositional phrase. That's not the subject. Each is your subject. Each is singular, so the verb is has. Each of Mrs. Todd's painted bowls has a personal value. Neither, now this is not paired with neither nor, so this is not a correlative conjunction. In this case, this word is acting like a pronoun. Can they do that? Yes, they can. Remember the word to? Sometimes it's a preposition, sometimes it's the start of an infinitive verb. Okay, of the boys is a prepositional phrase. That's not your subject. Okay, neither, that is your subject. That is singular. So you take the singular verb. Neither has. Neither of the boys has ever given me any trouble. In the coldest weather of the year, prepositional phrases, get rid of them. In the polar bear club, get rid of them. At the icy lake, get rid of it. For one quick swim, get rid of it. All prepositional phrases. Everyone is your subject. That is indefinite. It is singular. Gathers. Everyone gathers. Okay? Something about romantic movies bores me. About most romantic movies is a prepositional phrase. Okay? Get rid of it. Your subject is something. Something is singular. Singular verb. Bores. Okay? Beyond the chain link fence. That's a prepositional phrase. Except some stunted trees and dusty weeds. Prepositional phrase. So here is your essential sentence. There was or were nothing. Now, remember, when we have here or there, this is the subject of this clause, or this, in this case, this sentence. This has displaced the actual subject. The actual subject is nothing. Okay? Nothing is singular, so was goes with was. So here's how it reads. Beyond the chain link fence, there was nothing except some stunted trees and dusty weeds. After the party, prepositional phrase. To Michelle, prepositional phrase. Okay, get rid of them. Now, was or were anyone talking? This is a question. So we know that they have displaced this has displaced the subject and bumped it after the verb. So you move, anyone is your subject. That becomes, move it back where it belongs. Okay? And anyone is singular, so was. Anyone was talking. That's your verb. You need the singular helping verb. Okay? Was talking is your verb phrase. Everyone in my night classes. In my night classes. Prepositional phrase. That is not your subject. Okay? Everyone seem or seems much smarter. Okay, so everyone is a singular indefinite pronoun. Seems. Okay, seems. This, if you thought classes was the subject and you chose the plural verb to go with it, you would have been incorrect. Everyone seems much smarter than I am. Okay? Now, collective nouns. These are typically treated as singular nouns, and it makes it kind of easy because none of these appears to be a plural. Company is singular, corporation is singular. Okay? Now, can you have companies? Yes, but remember, it's always treated as singulars. Counts, well, no, that's not true. You can have a plural councils. That would be more than one council, in which case it's treated as plural. But council, even though there's many members in a council, many branches in a government, many members of a group, many people in a crowd, many members of a jury, many people in a family, these are considered singular. So they take a singular noun. So committee, singular, is sponsoring, singular verb. Audience, singular, was is a singular verb. Jury, singular, has reached. Okay, the jury, it wouldn't be jury have reached, which would be the plural form. It's jury has reached. Okay, now we are this is a rule that I'm not going to actively enforce because it's so Usually when you have a collective noun, they will be acting together. So when we see this, we'll talk about this on an individual basis, okay? But this is what I want you to remember, okay? So let's practice. The Green Corporation, that's a proper noun, so it's used as the complete as a simple subject. So that's your subject. It is singular, so it gives. The Green Corporation gives its employees 10 vacation days. From Nevada is a prepositional phrase. For a house. To rent is for a house is a prepositional phrase. To rent is an infinitive verb. For at least 1 year, prepositional phrase. Okay? So the family is or are looking. Family is singular, is. Of the jury's prepositional phrase. In the late afternoon sessions, prepositional phrase. So some members was or were falling asleep. So some is describing how many members. Members is your subject. This is plural. Okay, the jury is not the subject. Members is the subject. This is plural. So you take the verb, take the plural verb were. Some members of the jury were falling asleep. My son's kindergarten class. Your subject is class. All these are just descriptors describing the class. Class is singular, so it sings. Class sings. The Merrill College Student Council. This is a proper noun, but it is a singular noun. It was determined. Most popular team in baseball history. In baseball history, prepositional phrase. So is on the issue of steroid use. Team is your subject. Team is singular. Is. Team is deeply divided. Okay? You could say, well, if they're not acting together, if they're not acting as one because they're divided, that could be you could take it as a plural. That would be that exception you talked about. So the team are deeply divided. Logic would tell me that that just doesn't sound right. So I would treat this as a singular collective noun. But I guess you could argue that it is one of those exceptions because the team is not acting as one. They're divided. If I saw you write the team is, I would not have any problem with that. I probably wouldn't even notice it or even question it. Although the rain delayed the outdoor concert, that is a dependent clause. Rain is your subject, delayed is your verb. Although is a dependent marker. Okay? I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about this one. At the park, prepositional phrase. So the crowd is the subject. Crowd is singular, so it was. When a movie is boring or slow, that is a dependent clause. Movie is your subject, is your linking verb. When is a dependent marker. I'm not worried about the subject and verb here. I'm worried about the subject and verb here. The audience is the subject. Your verb, singular verb, is begins. Once a year, prepositional phrase. Okay? The club is your subject. Club is singular. Goes with the singular verb donates. 4 years, prepositional phrase. Of directors. At the computer company. Those are all prepositional phrases. So your subject is bored. That is singular, so it goes with the verb has. Okay? All right, so bottom line, look at these 8 criteria. I think I said earlier that it was 10 criteria. My bad. Look and see on the quiz which criteria your sentence or which rule your sentence fits under, and then apply the appropriate rule. Have all that back in front of you and apply the appropriate rule. All right, just remember that they don't always take singular verbs. There are such things as plural and definite pronouns. Okay? So I'll see you on Monday, or see you next time.